An age ago, the beating heart of our people was a king who knew only victory. He wanted nothing more than an honorable death on the battlefield. Yet, none could match him, and so he wandered the earth, becoming lost in time and tide. Then we too lost our honest purpose, while silk-clad men sat upon the throne. But tremble now, all cities that lay under the stars, for out of the shadows and mists of the land of promise, our courage has been rekindled, our heart has returned, and the world will burn.
Oh, there we go. My mic was muted. Sorry about that, everyone. If anybody can hear me in the chat, let me know. Just want to let you know that my connection is not the greatest tonight, so let me know if there's any problem with the audio or visual, or if you lose me or anything at all, because I'm just going to try to get this stream going. But again, not entirely sure why my connection is not that great. So if anybody can hear me, let me know in the chat. Sounds good? Okay. All right, like I said, hopefully this is going to work for me tonight. I have zero idea why my connection is not very good. So what I wanted to do is just talk about crowdfunding for a little while. Um, I've been doing a lot of live streams about Krom the Destroyer, and the link for Krom the Destroyer is in the description. If you want to go and order a copy of Krom the Destroyer, you're looking at the campaign here right now. But I just realized as I was talking to people that this is my fourth crowd-funded campaign. Now, I did Thomas Valiant, which I closed down. That was a mistake, by the way, just crowdfunding 101. I should not have closed that down. That was a good storefront for me to keep open, but I closed it down. Then I did the Valiant Heroes, which was my second campaign. And then I started up a second chance campaign for Thomas Valiant, which then I only had it open for 60 days. It is now closed. And now I have Krom the Destroyer that is open on Indiegogo. So those are the four campaigns that I have done. I've also put up a campaign on Kickstarter for Thomas Valiant, but it was more of an experiment than anything else to see if I could grab any more attention for Thomas Valiant over on that platform. So if anybody has any questions for me, and again, if you start to lose sound, let me know in the comments so that I know what's going on here, because I'm not sure about this connection today. But my point being, first to talk about the Kickstarter experience. And if you want crowdfunding 101, it's the fact that I went on to Kickstarter again to see, I put up the exact same campaign as Indiegogo for Thomas Valiant. Now that campaign made about on Indiegogo itself, it made about I think it was 46,000, and we also got a lot of private backers besides that. So we topped 50,000 with that campaign. So the thing was that I thought to myself, okay, if it's just the campaign itself, I should be able to attract some kind of audience with Thomas Valiant on Kickstarter, because it's a quality product. I show that it has quality, and it has a lot more quality now on the actual page for it, the actual site that we have the book ready to go. It's all lettered. I can show more pages, all of that kind of thing. So I should be able to attract an audience over on Kickstarter. But I did it without really any advertising, without any real push for anything else, just letting Kickstarter go as it normally goes to see if anything would happen there. And nothing has happened there. I will not reach my stretch goal because I'm not really trying. I just want to see if I could pull anybody else in. And the thing was that it was an abject failure. And it's an abject failure not because the book is an abject failure, it's already a success. And it's not because the platform is an abject failure, although many of us don't like Kickstarter. It still works if you actually, put the effort into it. But that's the problem. Problem with crowdfunding is number one, you have to build an audience before you can sell. And this is a simple thing that I said on some of my videos a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago. And people were a little bit amazed at that. Some people, anyways, that were trying to sell. Again, just let me know in the comments if you can still hear me. Just I want to make sure that everybody can hear me because I have a bad connection today. So if someone could give me a shout out in the comments, maybe Michael or who else we got in the comments here, Manny, Calypso, a few other people, Rex Blazer, not to be confused with Rex Harper, who is a regular here. All right, Austin, thank you very much. So the thing is that in order to sell a book, as counterintuitive as this may sound, you need to build an audience first. That's really what you have to do. And this is not something that is new to me. It is something that I didn't want to believe needed to be done. But it's something that's been told to me for a long time because I originally started out writing a novel manuscript. I wanted to start writing short stories, but my short story turned into a long story and then turned into a very long story. And then it turned into a novel. And then I made it into a manuscript and all this kind of thing. And I went to get it published. This was probably around 2012, 2014. And I found that the publishing world, again, it has been taken completely over by the woke ideologues, even as early as 2012, even earlier than that, really. And I didn't want to work with those people. So I went to look at the self-publishing world for novels, which had taken off a long time before, around the 2000s, because they have been dealing with this woke infection for a lot longer than any of the rest of us with comics or anything else. And the thing was, that was the number one thing that you were told to do if you wanted to self-publish a novel. It's to build an audience first. So this is what needs to be done if you want to sell a comic, if you want to sell a story, if you want to sell anything. If you're crowdfunding, you need to build an audience first and pick the thing that you're good at. And again, I'm going back to, I guess it's Brian Niemeyer is the one who introduced all this to me. He's a novelist, and I have worked with him with some editing at one point, but he's self-published in a lot of things, if I do recall. But the thing is that he has a lot of this stuff, a lot of the stuff that we now take for granted, that we sort of built up, as we would say, for Comicsgate or for alternative media, for comics or anything else. The people in self-published novels were doing that a decade before us, and they had all this down. So this is why I had a little bit of a leg up on some people, because of this insight into a couple of things with the novel publishing. I'm just going to give you 1 second here, and I want to I'm wanted to take a look at my campaign here for Krom the Destroyer. If you can see it, if I'm correct with my StreamYard, I think I finally figured out how to do this. So this is my campaign for Krom the Destroyer. And again, I'll get into a little bit of putting together a campaign maybe later on in this video, maybe a little later on, but this is crowdfunding 101. This is before you even begin. So these are the kinds of things that I just need to get off my chest, because I wanted to start to build a bigger community around my channel and talk to people about the thing that I'm passionate about. The other part that I'm passionate about is argument. That's what my normal videos are about. But this is crowdfunding. It's also for comics. It is what I'm passionate about. Now, if you look at this campaign for Krom the Destroyer, Krom the Destroyer, you'll notice that it has spectacular art. You'll notice that you got lettered pages. Again, this is my 4th attempt at doing this. I kind of know what I'm doing. I was able to put some good tiers together, some good perks, all these kind of thing. I knew how the ins and outs of this works, but at the same time, if you don't do the legwork to build an audience first, you're not going to get anyone. And you can have the biggest, best product in the world. It's not going to work for you as a crowdfunding mechanism to sell your book, unfortunately. And I did talk about this to my artist, for one of the artists anyways, for Krom the Destroyer, which was Nick Axe. And he, like a lot of the artists that I deal with, are people that come from advertising. And he knows this very well, that the idea of if you build it, they will come is a fantasy. It is not something that's going to happen. You need to build the audience first. You need to attract the people first, and then build the product. And hopefully the two of those things will feed off each other. But at the same time, you need that audience first. If you go into it with the mindset of I can build it and the audience will appear, that's not going to happen. It's just not. And that's kind of the same mentality that Marvel and DC have right now. Yeah, I listen to so many of their podcasts, and that's their mentality. They think that if they build these products for this phantom audience, it will appear. And I've said this many times in many of my videos. It has never happened. It never will happen, because that's not the way it works. You need to attract the audience first and then make the product. And they're doing it backwards. And anyone else who tries to do it that way is going to fail just like them. So rule number 1 is, again, build an audience first. Find the thing that you're good at, and it's probably going to have to be on the internet, because this is a digital age. You're not going to attract an audience anywhere that's of any substantial number unless you're on the internet somehow. So whether that's a Twitter following, or whether that's on YouTube, or whether that's, I don't know, TikTok or anything else, that's what you got to do. You got to build that audience around the thing that you're passionate about, which is the thing you're going to make your book about. And that's what you're going to have to concentrate on. So just give me one more second here. I want to try a little bit more with this page. Just give me 1 second. So, sorry, I have to switch screens in order to actually move down my campaign page. So I want to move down just a little bit here, give you some more art from Krom the Destroyer in the background. But yeah. So yeah, find the thing that you're good at, build an audience with it. I see people on Twitter with 20, 30, 100,000 followers or more, and I have no idea how these people get these followers. I've been on Twitter for quite some time, and I try to attract followers in a number of different ways, and it just doesn't work for me. Maybe it's because I'm not willing to be on Twitter 24 hours a day. I go on for 20 minutes in the morning and post some things that I think are fun, and then I do a advertisement burst around noontime, and then another one around 8 o'clock ish in the evening. Try to pick out when the people who are going to actually be attracted to these posts are online, and that's when I put these things out. But at the same time, YouTube is the mainstay of where I have an audience. I have over 20,000 subscribers right now, which is great. But a lot of those subscribers are more to the culture war aspect of it and less to the comics, although I do concentrate, or at the very least talk a lot about heroes and use comics as my example. But that's not translating as well as smaller YouTube channels with smaller audiences into sales. So that's the second thing that I want to talk about. So number 1, you have to build an audience before you try to sell. Number 2 is the fact that you have to build that audience based upon what it is you want to sell. And I know it sounds a little bit mercenary, but at the same time, this is what you got to do. You got to connect with an audience, and you got to give them what they want. And then once you give them what they want for free, and you've done so for a good number of, well, I don't know, I won't say years, but at the very least, a good amount of time. You've given that to them for free. Then it's time to see if they will pay for it. Because that's the thing. If you want to create something, especially a comic book, it ain't cheap. Telling that right off the bat. If anybody's out there who's thinking them to themselves, I want to crowdfund a book. Okay, that's great, but there are things that you need before you even begin. And that startup money of crowdfunding is that you need to have that page. Let's say you're doing an Indiegogo page or a Fund My Comic or Kickstarter or anything else. As you're looking at, I will scroll back up and down here for Krom the Destroyer. You see, oh, that's the wrong bar. 1 second. You see that right at the very first, I have two different videos that are at the top here. The one that was played at the first of this stream and the second one, which I'll play at the end of this stream. Those are two videos, which one is a minute and a half, the other is about 45 seconds. And they took me well over a week each to get together because it takes a lot of, well, a lot of failure and trying again to put a good trailer together. A lot of people try and they don't seem to actually make the best trailers, but at the same time, I can make the best trailer in the world. That's not going to help me if I can't get it out to people and if I don't have that audience. So that's number one. I mean, you can do that. Maybe you have the ability to do that. I don't think a good trailer is a good trailer unless it gives you art from the book and some of the story. And again, if you're an artist, you got to supply that art. If you're the writer, you have to supply that story, and then you got to pay the artist in order to actually supply the art so that you can have it for your trailer. And the same thing is with the first of your campaign. Now I give you a little blurb, I give you the title, but as everyone has told me, the proper way to set up a page is to give your little blurb so that it tells everyone exactly what you're going to get if you purchase this, which is the main product, which is what I do. And then you go right into the art, because the art, this is a visual medium. This, even the internet is a visual thing. I mean, I know that I'm mostly auditory because I don't show my face or anything like that because I don't see the need for it. But I give art and people a good idea of the things that I'm trying to talk about through art if I can. But yeah, the visual is going to hit people. So you have to have, usually the rule of thumb is 8 pages worth of art for the very first of your campaign. And this is what we have here for Krom the Destroyer. I got more than 8 pages of art because I'm the writer. I wanted to put in as many pages of the lettered story that I could for this to give people an idea of my storytelling ability, because that's what they've asked for. So that's what I'm giving them. But again, I give you all of this art, and this art isn't cheap. And you can't crowdfund without it. You're not going to get anything. I've never heard of anyone actually making any kind of product where they're able to crowdfund just with the story itself and not giving any art. And again, if you're just a storyteller, you got to pay for that art. If you're someone who's an artist, then you're going to have to put in the work and make all that and get the story ready. And then you can begin. Then you can begin to create your page, which is, again, Indiegogo, Fund My Comic, a Kickstarter, whatever it is you're going to do. That's where you can begin. And like I said, a lot of people think that crowdfunding is something that you can do automatically and just throw your hat in the ring and there's going to be an audience for it. No, you got to build that audience first. You got to give them what they want. You got to give them teasers. And it's all about hype. And I know that that's not a popular way to think about it, but that's the truth. It's all about hype. You got to hype up your product as much as possible. Again, first build that audience, then hype up the product with that audience in a way so that said audience will actually pay you when your campaign goes up. And that's really the gist of how you begin. And again, maybe you can find a different way. This is the way that I've had to develop by listening to others. I had a lot of different people in my ear giving me great advice before my first campaign, like Michael Bancroft over at Late Night with Comicsgate, and all of the people that that usually talk to him, like the creator of Replicators, Rob, and a lot of other small indie creators. And again, you got to realize, and a lot of people don't realize this, that um, if you're small, you're going to be running with the small dogs. Um, a lot of people ask me, why don't you go on Ethan's stream? That way you can get, a lot more exposure, and that way you can sell a lot more of your books. I don't understand why you don't do that. Well, I don't do that because there's absolutely no chance that I can do that. Ethan doesn't really know who I am. We've only had one slight interaction on via email. That was it. There's no way that I can really get in touch with him. Those emails or anything else won't get to him. And he doesn't know who I am. I'm too small. Even if he did know who I am, even if he thought that my product had some kind of merit and looked great, unless he takes the initiative and he struck with it like some of the products that he has been, there's that chance. There's a minuscule chance that he might see your product and say, hey, I'm going to talk about this on a live stream. But the 99% chance is that no, there's no chance there for you to actually get a hold of someone like Zach over at Comics Matter, or Ethan, or any of these other large people. I mean, I have gotten a hold of a few of them. So like Young Ripa, Eric and I had a conversation for my channel because I interviewed him because he was selling his product, not because he had any interest in my product. And I completely understand that because, he is someone who actually, is killing it with crowdfunding. And again, the reason why he's killing it is, I would say, and this is not to slight Eric in any way, because he is not only a nice guy, but he knows how to sell a product. He knows how to present himself. He knows all these other things. That talk with him that I had on screen and off screen was great. I loved speaking to the man. But the reason why he's able to make $4 million off of a book is because he works for Blaze TV. And he has a giant audience and a connection to a giant audience. And he was hyping up his book for well over a year. It was probably a year and a half, if not longer. So again, you're got it. Even big guys like Young Ripa, like Eric, you have to play by these simple rules of build your audience first and hype up your product, all this other stuff. And again, that applies to everybody. And my point here with the secondary thing is that you're not going to be able to contact these people and ask them to promote your book because it's just not going to happen. Again, there's a 1 in a million chance that they might see it and be taken by it because it's so beautiful of art or something like that. If you're a writer, that's right out. I would say right now that it's not going to happen. No one cares about the writing until they read the book. This is me talking to you as a writer. Everyone cares about the art. The only thing that's going to catch people's eyes is the art. The only thing that people are going to talk about is the art. And you're going to have to swallow your pride and lump it and say, this seems to be someone else's book besides mine, even though I'm the writer and the producer. If you're that kind of person. Me, I'm good at being in the background. I'm fine with that. So the thing is, again, I'm running with the middle of the pack right now. With people like Michael Bancroft, I'm probably falling behind a little bit at this point. Michael and I, we both had out of the gate really successful campaigns. Both of us made around $46,000 for our first campaign, but he made the better choice of going straight into that with a second helping of what he could show to people and to keep that momentum going through his channel through a daily live stream. So kudos to Michael for being able to do that. I can't. I have plenty of other work that needs to be done that allows me to create these comics. But it's still, I'm running with the middle of the pack with people like Sweetcast and people like that. There are people that are on the small tier who, can't break $5,000, can't break $10,000. And if you're on the small tier, you're probably just going to have to wander around there for a while until you actually make enough connections so that your product gets noticed. So again, let me see if I can go through some of the comments because I've been talking for about half an hour now, just to give you an idea of the pressures and some of the some of the problems with crowdfunding, but of course, it's better than what you have within mainstream media or trying to get it published by IDW or Boom or anything like that. So let's see if I have any comments here. Just give me a second. Da-da-da. So, someone has a question about Crom. Where is the option for the black and white version? Okay, here's the option for the black and white version. You go to the main Crom the Destroyer. You go to any of these tiers, any tier, and it has a separate SKU for black and white. So here's the main tier. Why it's on Canadian, I have no idea. Let me change that. Let me see. Oh no, I better not do that online. Anyways, it should be 25 USD. There it is right there. So you click on it. It gives you the information for it. And then you click on get this perk. And then you can select either the graphic novel, which is the colored one, or the magazine format, which is the black and white version. So you click on one of these. And if you want the black and white, you click on the magazine format and it will give you the black and white version. Then you continue to pay. Just in case you want to do it for another perk, the exact same thing happens. So let's see, here's one of the ones with the pinup posters. Click on it. Then you click on get this perk. And again, you get to select whether or not you want the color version or the black and white version. You want the black and white version, then you go to the posters and you do the same thing because you select one of the posters, whichever one you want. So, and then you continue on to pay. And if you want both versions, you scroll down because we have a tier down here that has both the graphic novel and the black and white magazine. So if you want both of them, you can get both of them. Or if you want 2 copies of the black and white magazine, you can get them here for a discount. So a number of ways you can do that. And like I said, that's the simple way to do it. And you can also order anything that you see on the campaign at checkout as an extra as well. So hopefully that answers that question. Let's see, scrolling down a little bit, scrolling down. See if you got any questions about crowdfunding or the campaign or anything else. Here's a question here. It says, I feel like most advertising agencies have been driving away customers as of late. I would agree with that. I don't like advertising at all. We will maybe get into advertising later on in this video, depending on how many questions I have here. Let's see. A couple of comments that I want to share. I just finished some of the original Conan stories by Robert E. Howard. Is this an original story of Krom, or does it take place while Conan is alive? Now, this is an original story. What I tried to do, Austin, is I'm trying to recreate a character that is similar to each Kull, Conan, and Solomon Kane in some way by going back to the original Celtic myth and drawing out a couple of different strains than Robert E. Howard actually pulled out with his. He, I think, concentrate probably on Connor the 100 Battles, but I would concentrate more on Connor Moore. They're very similar characters. They're very similar mythological figures, but I have a dash of a couple of other Celtic myths in there as well, like Oisin and who else? Lou of the Long Hand and a couple of people like that. So it's a different story. So just to let you know. So scrolling down, here's a question here. So if you want to sell comics, the best thing to talk about is to talk about comics, right? Well, yes and no. Again, depends on how you're going to have to pull in an audience, Manny. Again, there's a lot of people. And I tried this with my channel. I tried to just talk about old comics. And while some of those videos got a little bit of traction, they got nowhere close to the amount of traction that I would get talking about the problems with comics in the comic industry right now. So again, it's not just comics. You're going to have to figure out, first of all, where your in is to talk about comics and how you can serve your audience. Really, that's what it is. What is your audience there for? And it's probably going to be geared around what you're good at, what you know, what you have experience with. what you can build up your experience knowing about comics, all that kind of stuff. If you're someone who doesn't know a lot about older comics and you want to go back and read older comics, there are some channels that do that. I mean, there are channels that do exclusively that and do exceptionally well. But again, um, it can't just be let's just put it this way. It can't just be a shotgun blast with I want to talk about comics in every way, shape, or form. You're going to have to probably narrow it down to what you're good at and what people want to hear. But yeah, I'd say talk about comics. That's one of the failings of my channel. Again, with the 20,000 subscribers, probably half of them or more are not there for comics. They're there for culture war issues. So I'm not going to draw in an audience with those people. Let's see. Scrolling down, see if we got any more questions. For what I'm making, I'm a writer, editor, and the artist. Rex has a book of his own. Yes, he does. I'm not sure if Rex has that up on any platforms. I can't remember, Rex. I know I did see some of it, but I don't remember if it was just a webcomic or what it was. So yeah, if you're doing the whole thing, you got a long road to hoe there, because that's a lot of work, especially to try to do everything yourself. All right, so scrolling down, let's see. If I have any other, I do have a couple more comments here. Michael says, Japanese light novel titles are basically content synopsis nowadays. Yeah, that's true. I try to be pithy. I know you might not think that with the long-winded videos that I do, but I try to be pithy, especially with my titles. I don't know why. I think a shorter title is better, although I do appreciate the Japanese way of describing things through their titles. Let's see. A couple of comments here. Michael says, the other Michael, that time I slipped on a banana peel in a dungeon and got reincarnated in a goblin harem commune. Okay. Yeah, I haven't come across that one. I don't know if I want to come across that one. All right, Sound Engraver's here. Just say hello to Sound Engraver. As I always say, if you want to hear about cultural issues based upon someone who has experience and I think degrees, or at the very least building towards in the musical, go over to Sound Engraver's channel. So let's see. Let's see here if I got any more questions. RJ gets paid for his comics on Maple. No, I do not. No, thank you. No, USD. Thank you very much. Let's see. Okay, so the question is, how do you find an artist that fits the style that you are going for? Oh, that's a hard one, but at the same time, it depends on so many factors. I'll give you my experience first of all, and my experience secondarily, because it's a good question, especially if we're going over, crowdfunding 101. What I did was build my channel, and I talked about heroics, and I talked about things that a lot of other people weren't talking about, not just culture war issues, but tying it to, something more than complaining, something more than just saying this is bad for 10 minutes because the algorithm needs a video of 10 minutes. No, I give you argumentation. I try to put together something that's going to keep you engaged and thinking. So the thing was that as I did that, unbeknownst to me, I was attracting people who were artists who were saying, this guy gets it, this guy understands, rather than just shoves something in my face and say, this is stupid. So I got artists contacting me, Renzo Rodriguez being the first one, Nick Axe being the second, and a couple of others as well, and said, do you want to work with me? Let's do a project together. Charlie Snogans was another, although I haven't gotten to do anything with Charlie because he went over to work with Sweetcast. But yeah, if you build that audience, among that audience, if you're concentrating on something like comics, you're going to attract one or two artists, and you put out a call after a little while for, hey, is there any artists out there in my audience? If so, contact me here. I'll see what you got, and maybe we can do a project together. So again, that's one of the byproducts of building an audience. Secondarily, you can go and really scour Twitter. I think that would probably be the best place for it because that's where you're going to get the most people. And you can find artists from all over the world. Now, they might be a little bit hard to communicate with because they might not know English or know English that well or things like that. But there are a lot of beautiful artists all over the world who are trying to get some of their stuff published and just want to get their stuff out there. So again, that will be the secondary one. And third, I guess I would say, is that once you start to build connections within the community, to actually see, the thing is, again, by making, say, a channel or a Twitter account that people want to follow, you're becoming part of a larger community, of whether you want to be part of the Iron Age, whether you want to be part of Comicsgate, whether you just want to be part of the indie scene. You're going to start making connections. When you start making those connections, you can ask questions of the people who have been in here longer than you. I was lucky enough to it happened by chance that I was on a stream with Don Chin, and I didn't actually get to talk to Don because my connection was too weak, and I just had to leave the stream. But then Don and I connected through other means because Don was wondering who the heck I was. And the thing was that Don Chin is an old indie comic producer from the 1980s, so he knew so many people. So even just getting that connection, and he threw me out some artists that said, how about you contact this person, that person, this person, so again, make connections. You got to build that audience first. You make connections either directly through your content, or you can go scour the internet, probably through Twitter, maybe through DeviantArt, something like that. DeviantArt, usually you're not going to get the lowest price though. But if you go on Twitter, you might get someone who's more your style, more the people you can pick and choose. Again, if you get 5 people that respond to your call for an artist, then pick the one that you like the best. That's all you can do. You're probably not going to get someone who fits everything to a T. But that's okay because this is a collaborative effort. You're going to have to learn that just because I'm the writer and I'm the producer doesn't mean everything gets to be my way. That's one of the other things about writing a comic, just to let you know. So those are the 3 ways. Again, connect through your audience, connect separately through social media, and connect through the community that you become a part of when you start to make some kind of impact and some kind of positive feedback into the world of comics, really. Let's see. Let's scroll down a little bit. See if we got any more questions. I'm sure I got a couple more here. So Michael says, did you get any inspiration from stories about Cuchulainn? I think that's how you pronounce it. Queen Maeve, while researching Celtic myths. Yes and no. Cuchulainn is a little bit too overpowered for my liking. He's basically the Superman of the Celtic mythological world. And Maeve, there's not too many myths about Maeve that I've found. Again, the reason why I am so much into Celtic myth was because I did learn and do speak a very small amount of Irish Gaelic through a number of different sources. And yeah, I was inclined to mythology through pop culture, and it was usually Greek and Roman. But when I got back to my Celtic roots, then yeah, I started to get into Celtic mythology and just devoured it as I was growing up. But yeah, I've read stories about many stories about Cuchulainn over and over again. Maeve, again, has never been someone who has inspired me. I'm very much more someone who likes the as I tried to take my inspirations from Conor Moore and Oisin Fian of the Fianna and all those kinds. They're later mythological figures, if I remember correctly. So let's see. Let's see here. Someone says, I used to link my articles on Reddit, but subs stopped allowing it. Should I just start making YouTube videos? I don't know. That's up to you, Random. But it's not 2018 anymore. You're not going to get a giant audience like Zach built 100,000 subscribers in 2 years. Even me starting a year after he did, I think it was a year and 3 months, or maybe a year and a half after he did. There's no way that I could get anywhere near that kind of audience, even though, I have much a different style than he did. But again, I would suggest that if you're going to make YouTube videos, that's the thing with a lot of YouTube content creators that are in this space. Be yourself, and that might not attract the most people that you want to attract. But if you can't be yourself with every video, or at the very least with the majority of your videos, then you're going to get sick of the character that you're playing in the videos, and you're just going to stop at some point and go, I don't want to do this anymore. And that whole thing was for naught. That's my advice. But hey, if you want to, again, if you want to put yourself out there by starting a YouTube channel, you go ahead. There's a lot of people who tried. There's a lot of people who failed. Again, you got to go towards what you're good at. And if you try and it has some traction, then keep on with it. But again, you're going to get throttled one way or the other. Nobody likes us. Nobody wants to hear from us. It doesn't matter what kind of social platform you're on. You're going to get throttled. So be prepared for that. Let's see. Scrolling down a little more. Oh, the whole thing just jumped on me. This happens when I try to scroll down way too slowly. Let's see. New comment is, have you ever thought about funding on multiple sites? Yes and no. I might fund on Fund My Comic. I might move over to it if they keep their platform the way it is right now, because for Indiegogo, well, I'm not going to crowdfund on Kickstarter. Again, that was an experiment that I did with Kickstarter. If you heard the first of this video, but I just don't like Kickstarter as a platform. I don't want to give them my money, and they're going to throttle you more than Indiegogo, which is going to throttle you a little bit to begin with. But the thing is that Kickstarter, is, if it's similar to Indiegogo, you give them 6% of your entire profit. For Fund My Comic, right now, you give them 2%. So whether or not that's going to continue on in the future, I don't know. That will attract me in the future, I'll tell you right now, if they keep that at 2%. But my thought for funding on multiple platforms is that I won't do it simultaneously, because that will break my audience into two parts. And one of the things that I've been told, and I know that this is possibly not as true as I might think it to be, but is the fact that the more money people see you making on your platform, the more they're going to want to buy your book. So if you come out of the gate and you can get $10,000 on Indiegogo, and we'll put it in my terms. If I was to come out of the gate with $10,000 in Indiegogo, which I've just done with Krom the Destroyer, and instead of doing that, I split it up between Indiegogo and Fund My Comic, and I only got $5,000 in Indiegogo and $5,000 on Fund My Comic, no one that's going to Indiegogo is going to see that or understand that. They're just going to say, you only made $5,000. That's not a lot. I don't know if I want to order this book. So that's my thought in the entire thing. I would love to be able to go to multiple platforms and have it work differently, but it won't work differently for me until I start making more money. And I just, at this point, cannot. People are hoarding their pennies right now, and rightfully so. So the fact that you can see that I make as much as I do, you know that I'm going to be producing the book. So that's great for me. Again, that's all I can say for that right now. Scrolling down, see if there's anything else here. A couple of people talking in the comments, but I think there's one more comment here. Manny says, besides YouTube, how else can you build an audience, especially if you are just a writer? Right. Honestly, right. Right now, there are several really good publications beginning, that if you can start to get your stuff published in them, like Iron Age magazine, or I guess it's Anvil Iron Age magazine. Their number 2 is coming out, I think, within a month or so for their crowdfunding campaign. You can they make a direct call for stories, and they do a lot of print stories, and you can give them one of your stories and say, can you print this? Do you want to print this? And get your name out there. There's another book that does a similar thing. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. It's got a odd name that sounds like Spanish or French to me. And I can't pull it up right now. But the Iron Age magazine isn't the only one doing that, and um, these are publications that are friendly to the alternative media that we're trying to put together. So if you're just a writer, I would say start there. And at the same time, if you want to write a blog, if you want to write other things, and here's the thing about making YouTube videos. If I'm someone who just talks off the top of my head all the time, I don't write scripts or anything like that. But if you want to simply write a script for a video and then just read the entire thing, that's a good video. Believe it or not, that's a good video. Probably better than my videos because, again, I just ramble on. But at the same time, writers write always. So you got to hone your craft, and that's about all I can say. Try to get yourself published. Try to find someone who wants to be a part of what you have to say. And I know being a writer is extremely difficult, especially for the fact that I can tell you right now, as myself, and I'm sure that there are plenty of other writers like this as well. The fact that I have money coming in from other places means that I can spend my extra time on writing, and that's not going to cause any problems within my life at all. So being a writer is extremely difficult, especially if you're going to go with alternative media right now. So that's the best advice I have on that front. Let's see. This question here saying, have you ever done a video on anti-heroes? No, I've done live streams talking about anti-heroes, but I haven't done a video on them. Don't really think people would like my take on anti-heroes. But at the same time, a lot of people think of Conan as an anti-hero. I don't believe that at all. I don't want to go off on a tangent about this, but quite honestly, Robert E. Howard's first story that he wrote for Conan was, if I do remember correctly, Sword and the Phoenix, which was the story where Conan is already a king. So basically, he was just trying to revamp, I think, Kull. So Conan was already a king, and then he went back and told stories about Conan from other perspectives and about the rest of his life and all that kind of thing. Conan as a king is a lawful good king. Believe it or not, he's a lawful good king. He won't abandon his subjects no matter what. He fights for them to the death if at all necessary, because he won't. He's not a barbarian anymore. So I don't see him as an anti-hero. A lot of other characters that other people see as anti-heroes, I don't see as anti-heroes either. So that's the thing with me and anti-heroes. I disagree with a lot of people on what an anti-hero is and whether or not some of the characters that are traditionally thought of anti-heroes are anti-heroes. So no, I haven't done a video about it because I don't know. It's much too complicated, and I haven't worked the entire thing out in my head to begin with. So let's see. A couple of large comments here. I don't know if they're for me. I've been toying with this for a while, but would I be better off using a male pen name? I'm a woman, but I've noticed that many comic fans don't trust female writers anymore due to modern comics. No, I don't think so. I really don't. I'm going to say something here, and it's probably not going to be very popular, but it will be great for you, Random, because all you have to do is be female, and you can get an audience for a YouTube video or anything else. You just show your face. You're a girl. You show your face, and you're probably going to take off 5 times faster than any guy who is going to say the exact same things as you. It's just the way it is. So you can build, if you're a female, use it as much as possible. Again, all you got to do is show your face and say something mildly interesting, and you got yourself an audience that is probably going to be bigger than mine within a year. But again, That's my take on it. That's the way I see YouTube working. Um, that's the way I think that so many people build themselves an audience. But at the same time, if you want to be a writer, you make sure that you're building the correct kind of audience through the correct kind of interactions with them, not someone that is going to simply attract a lot of, I don't know, people who are never going to do anything, never going to read anything that you want to write. I mean, you can attract that kind of audience, which is the wrong kind of audience, very easily. So you'll have to be a little bit careful. But yeah, no, don't do that. Again, I was thinking the same thing when I was thinking the exact opposite thing, actually, when I was originally trying to put my novel out there, and this is more than 10 years ago now. I was thinking I should use a female pen name because if I wanted to become a novel writer, I needed to be a female because, well, it's taken over, the novel industry was taken over by the woke 20 years ago. So, but no, I don't think that's the case, Random. Uh, let's see. Let's see. Scrolling down a little bit. Da, 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 da. Sound Engraver says building an audience is essential if you want to produce art. My original music doesn't garner a lot of views, but my tutorials also talking about art in terms of the culture war has worked. Yep, there you go. That's exactly what I was saying, Sound Engraver. Exactly what you got to do. My tutorials on YouTube garner the views, so if you have a knack for teaching, do that on YouTube. Writing streams / videos are popular. Again, I would very much agree with what Sound Engraver has to say, although trying to do something, I'm not the, a lot of people see me as trying to be a teacher. I'm not really trying to be a teacher. I'm trying to teach myself. I'm trying to make my own ideas make sense to myself. And then I give that argument to other people to see if they can make heads or tails of it. That's what I do with my videos. But yeah, I guess a lot of people on YouTube give a lot of teaching advice that isn't real teaching advice. So I don't know. Just know what you're doing. Have some idea what you're doing, I guess I would say. Let's see. Scrolling down. Scrolling down. See if we have any more questions. We're getting down to the end of the comments. And don't know if this comment's for me. Everybody have fun tonight, says, and your audience will have a lot of male viewers. Yes. So they're talking to Random. All right. So we're talking for half an hour, and then I answered questions for about 20 minutes. But let's get back to a couple of things about crowdfunding before I go, because I usually like to keep these streams to an hour. There's a lot more things that I want to talk about for crowdfunding, and I will probably do a lot more of these videos. So let me just put it this way, right here, right now. I've been trying a lot of different things with videos throughout my channel, and I've done a lot of different things, a lot of different kinds of videos to try to attract an audience that, again, is going to be there to help me sell my stories or to buy my stories or to help promote my stories. And that's what these live streams are for. I think, honestly, I'm taking the, not the advice, but the path of people like Michael Bancroft and the rest. I can't stream every night by any means. I can stream once a week, maybe. I'm hopefully going to do it every Wednesday and every Thursday. This might replace my my video interviews with people, just talking about comics, having some fun, building an audience, getting people in the chat who can talk to each other and who want to answer or ask me questions and answer questions themselves. Because again, it's part of being part of a community, and I know that's a dirty word right now because of the fact that the comic pros and the mainstream comic industry use community in a completely different way to shut everybody else out of their little boys group or girls group. But yeah, it's building not only a customer base but a community as well. You got to have people trust you before they're going to fork over their hard-earned money, especially today when that money is really, really hard earned. So that's what these videos and these live chats are going to probably turn into. I started doing just live streams for Krom the Destroyer. Again, link in the description for Krom the Destroyer. It is still open. We've only been up 10 days and we have $10,000. I think it's 10 days. So we're doing well. One of the other things about crowdfunding, if you want a crowdfunding 101 tip that doesn't have anything much to do with what we're talking about today, I'll give you this extra here. For crowdfunding, I find, anyways, looking at the analytics of crowdfunding, the way it's going to go if you begin a campaign, so you've got yourself an audience and you know that you're going to get people to buy your book. Now, how do you do that? How do you know that they're going to buy your book? Well, you're going to have to start most probably an email list, which you can do for free on Indiegogo, which is a pre-thing for your campaign. So if you can get a good number of people there, I would say take your email list and chop it in half, and whatever number you get, chop it in half, and that's probably the amount of people that are actually going to buy your product off that email list. If that's enough money, or if you can make enough money off your central product from those people and that number buying your product, then you're good to go. But yeah, build up that email list. And what you got to do is, again, be part of a community and give them the trust in you that you're going to actually fulfill your campaign, do what you say, give them a good product. And when you do that, again, I'm rambling here, but when you actually begin your campaign, you're going to, as far as I'm concerned with my analytics anyways, this is the way it works for me. The first week is going to be a big seller, and then you're going to get nothing but doldrums, maybe one person, maybe two people, if you're lucky, per day, until it gets to the end couple of days. And when the end couple of days start to close out, if you have garnered enough attention, then you're going to see another spike, possibly as big as, possibly bigger than the first couple of days that you actually went with your campaign. So don't get discouraged if you only make, a little bit at the first year campaign, thinking to yourself, that's only half what I wanted to originally make, and no one else is coming to my campaign. I'm barely getting any traction, maybe one sale a day. If you keep up the pressure, then you're actually going to attract more people to want to buy before the thing closes out. But you're going to have to get on everybody's show that you can get on, or everybody's radar on Twitter or whatever social media that you're on, to say, hey, we're closing out. If you want a copy, and get it now. Because the thing is that you have to offer them something extra with the original campaign itself, or most people are just going to wait for it to go into demand and go, I'll buy it later, and then it falls off the radar and they don't think about it. Anyways, so those are my crowdfunding ideas for today. That's just the barest minimum of the introduction to crowdfunding 101. I got plenty more to say about it, and I'm going to try to do these videos about crowdfunding every once in a while. I will intersperse them with other things, funner things maybe, or random things that have to do with the crowdfunding campaigns, or stuff I usually like to talk about. I want to make this space of my live streams as attractive as possible, because I'm bumbly and fumbly over here. So, and I'm not the greatest entertainer in the world. So anyways, I'll scroll down to the last couple of comments and see if there's anything else that needs to be answered. And if not, we might just wrap this thing up. Let's see. Manny has a question about email lists, I think. What would you say would be a good number to start with for the email list? Again, Manny, that depends on how much money you need to actually make your book. Now, here's the thing. Most people suggested to me, and again, how true this is, I'm not entirely sure, but most people suggested to me, put your goal low so that people can see that you've made 500, 600% of your goal and think to themselves, oh, they made their goal, I'm going to order. Again, it's a kind of a psychological thing to do to get people to order more. But for me, again, I am producing books. I'm just the writer. I need at least one artist Sometimes I have an artist that does the inking. Sometimes I need multiple artists and an inker. I need a colorist. Sometimes I need a letterer. I need an editor, all these other kinds of things. Plus the fact that the books are somewhere between 66 and 86 pages long. So that's fairly big. With the printing and everything that I'm doing, I got to make a minimum of $20,000 in order to just pay everybody and print the books and ship them to people. And again, for the Valiant Heroes, I made like $22,000. Now that may sound like a lot, but that's covering expenses. That's about it. Now I'm fine with that because I'm not here to make money. I'm here to make comics, and I just want to make as many stories as I possibly can. But it really depends on how big your book is, what part you're going to play in the production of that book, whether you're the artist, whether you're the person who's producing it, whether you're the person who's writing it, all those kinds of things. So really, I can't give you a full number on that. And it depends on if you're offering it digitally or if you're printing the entire thing. There's so many factors in there that it's not a question that can be answered unless you yourself know exactly what you're going to do and sit down with a pen and paper and try to figure out how much cost will run you for everything that you need. And again, you got to be a bit of an accountant to do that. And that's just part of the game. All right. So I am going to leave it there. I've been talking for an hour. And like I said, I try to keep these live streams to an hour. I want to thank everybody for coming. Hopefully I offered you something about crowdfunding to get things started here. And again, that's what I want to do, just get things started. I knew that I wasn't going to get very far into the crowdfunding 101 today, but we'll do this again and start where we left off here. I'll probably make a playlist of these crowdfunding 101s and talk about a whole bunch of things about being shadow banned, about how exactly to put a campaign page together, about, again, making an email list, about making connections, about the kind of art that you want, all these things, many, many things that I want to talk about, again, because I know that it isn't a lot. I only have 4 campaigns, but each of them, at the very least, squeaked by. Some of them did fairly well. And I want to be able to share this. So hopefully that, again, building a community, helping people out, and making sure that we get great comics is the way that I sell my comic. So I'd like to thank everyone else I'd like to thank everyone again for showing up, and I'm going to give you the normal outro. I'm going to probably make an intro and an outro for this kind of live stream so that it's just for the Fourth Age comics, and people know that this is something different than my normal Saturday videos. Anyways, so I'll give you the second video for the trailer for Krom the Destroyer, and I want to thank everyone for coming a third time, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.
No matter how many wars you fight, no matter how much blood you shed, no matter how much rage you loose, no matter how many demons you face, no matter how many companions you lose, no matter if our kingdom falls, I know that you will return to me in honor.